I have a question.
Yes?
Has any of this information been fed into the,
Let me hear you clearly.
okay. Has any of this information been fed into the problem that's going on now with the weather changes and we have supposedly more violent weather now than we used to have years ago. Has that affected
Climate change?
climate change? Thank you.
The question was raised, do we have any more information factored into the, would you say, change of climate, warning?
Climate change?
Climate change?
Yes, more rapid weather.
With the added, more catastrophic type weather conditions. And to my knowledge, I'm sure somebody has taken that into consideration, but I do not know for sure. The tests that have been committed have gone through 1992. The change in weather due to climate conditions, I'm quite sure, has entered into the equation now by some people who are, I'm sure, very much smarter and knowledgeable about fallout than they were when we were participating in the test in 1950. But to be exact, I can't tell you for sure because I don't know what's proceeding in that area.
I have a brief follow-up.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's flowing over the country, it's going into the ground.
Absolutely.
So is there any research been done on the impact of that to children?
Absolutely, there is and has been. In fact, the tests that were committed in Nevada under science and the need to know what's happening has caused many commissions and much in Congress to investigate all of the tests that were performed. And they have admitted that people were lied to. This is a known fact. They have admitted that people were lied to, kept purposely in the dark. And a lot that happened, some veterans have finally gotten compensation. There was a tremendous amount of money set aside for veterans who participated at ground level. And there was no doubt because we've got films now. In fact, I've got some URLs back there, they're in red, and that one shows, and it was in Teapot's series of testing, where soldiers were in trenches less than a half mile away from ground zero. And it shows them in the trenches. When the bomb went off, then they looked, and all of a sudden they got the blast in the face and they ducked down and they didn't hear anything and they stood back up and wham in the back of the head with it returned to the vacuum. Those were on film now and available to the public.
Yeah, on the internet.
The people who participated in that test are not with us today. In fact, they probably didn't last a year after that test. But there's no record to prove that that caused it, because there's nothing on paper.
Thank you.
You had a question over here? Yes.
The animal mutilations that those of us who are old enough to remember were probably experiments testing the animals who had been exposed back in the 50s and 60s.
Some of the testing procedures where there were troops in the dugouts There were cages on top of the ground, near ground zero. And these cages contained animals that were available at that location. And also in those cages were human beings. They were on death row. They were scheduled for termination within 2 weeks prior to this test. And they were given the option of a quick, painless death, or one on a gurney that might take half hour or several hours. And without a doubt, they all volunteered. And when the test results were examined, everything in the cages were vaporized.
I was referring to random animals throughout mostly the West. Sheep, cattle on farms and ranches. And they blamed it on aliens coming down from space. And
Yes, that was very popular at that time with UFOs. And the government passed it off. Well, there have been peculiar occurrences that as yet are not explainable, and which indicated, okay, take your best shot. Yep, UFOs are going to create havoc here. And blame it on UFO. Blame it on anything except the test. Well, in these fallouts that you've seen from these winds, animals eat the grass. The grass contains the fallout. And when you have animals eating grass, what are they going to produce if they're carrying milk? Who's going to drink the milk? Anybody that's drank it before, because why shouldn't they? That cow's been given milk for the last 10 years. This dairy is known for its process. They're not going to hurt you. Hello?
I have one more personal question, if I may.
Oh, okay.
I need to know if your experience in the desert at Camp Swampy is the reason you never wanted to go camping again.
How do you know I don't want to go camping again?
I've
Has my wife
lived
been
with you for
talking to you?
59 years.
Is this your lady?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there are several reasons why I don't want to go camping. And one reason consisted of a 2-week period was when I was on escape and evasion. Clarence, you're laughing. I might say that Clarence here is a naval aviator, or was, and he got a kick out of escape and evasion. And it happened to occur in, I think it was China Lake. We were surrounded by Marines, and we were in the gully here, and Marines were on the perimeter, and they were the enemy. And we had to go 15 miles from this end to the other end, and all we had was a parachute, a knife, an apple, or an orange, and a did we have a carton of milk? I forgot.
You might have a beer or two.
And I'll tell you, I found out that a prickly pear might be delicious, but first, take a knife and scrape the stickers off of the prickly pear because it's going to stick in your tongue. And I took the tongue out there and I took a knife to the tongue to try to get them out of my tongue. Prickly pear fruit is edible, and I you kind of roast them over a fire, it'll burn those darn little things off. But you learn and know the experiences that, I'll tell you, even water that is collected in a dirty rock is really delicious when you're thirsty. And yes, it's got a lot to do with when you want to camp. Any more questions? How about had it?